As we get closer to learning how to solve by completing the square, we're now going to look at creating perfect square trinomials and turning them into binomial squares. Let's start with y squared plus 10y. And I know you're thinking, that's not a trinomial, there's only two terms. You're right. We want to have a perfect square trinomial with three terms. So I'll put plus an empty spot. Now there's going to be three terms, and 10y is the middle term. Notice that y has a degree of 1 in the middle, and y squared is over in the first spot, and y squared is the square of y, which is in the middle. We want to find a value to place in that box that will give us a perfect square trinomial. What will work? Let's follow some steps. First, find the coefficient of what is now the middle term. That's plus 10y, and the coefficient of that is positive 10. Next, we'll divide that value by 2. So positive 10 divided by 2 is positive 5. And now we'll square that value. Well, positive 5 squared is positive 25. The result of this step will always be positive because we're taking step 2 and squaring it. So whether we have a negative or a positive in step 2, once we square it, we'll have a positive value. And this is the value we'll place in the box. Y squared plus 10y plus 25. That's a perfect square trinomial. Now let's turn that into a binomial square. We can factor this into y plus 5 times y plus 5. That binomial repeats itself. It is y plus 5, that whole quantity squared. We've done it. And notice that the second part of the binomial square is what we got when divided by 2. Positive 10 divided by 2 was positive 5. That ended up becoming the second term of our binomial square. Here's another example. W squared minus 14w. Well, let's get ready to add something, so we'll have three terms. What will we put in that last spot? Well, we'll find the coefficient of the middle term. The middle term is negative 14w. We care about negative 14. We'll divide that value by 2. And negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. Now we'll square negative 7. And negative 7, the whole thing squared, is positive 49. Again, a reminder that answer should be positive, and that's what we'll put in the third spot. And we've got a perfect square trinomial. Now let's make this a binomial square. When we factor this, we get two quantities, both w minus 7, which means it's the quantity w minus 7 squared. And again, notice our second term is exactly what we got when we divided by 2. Negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. Now it's your turn. For each of these three examples, add a third term to make a perfect square trinomial, and then convert that to a binomial square. You may want to pause the video because it's about to end.